In this video, I'm going to be talking all about the latest Kill Team set and the last one in the Bheta-Decima campaign, Termination. Well, here it is, everybody, the last set in the Bheta-Decima campaign. Now, if I've just said something that doesn't make any sense to you whatsoever, well, go back and watch my earlier videos. The latest campaign for Kill Team has been Bheta-Decima, set on a planet called Bheta-Decima, and it is the planet where the Gallo-Dark, which was the huge space Hulk that featured in the last season, smashed into the planet and absolutely destroyed everything, not only causing huge radiation storms and all kinds of madness, but also disgorging chaos worshippers and mutants and things out onto the surface. Absolute madness, cats and dogs living together, crazy. So this is the last set, and it's going to be very interesting to see what happens next with Kill Team. What are they going to do? I mean, they can't do anything more with this planet. It's pretty much destroyed and overrun. So are we going to go somewhere completely different for the next campaign? Or is Kill Team going to get some kind of big refresh? I hope it's not the latter, because I'm very happy with the game as it is now, and I don't want them changing the rules yet again. So I think, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But this set we're going to look at today, this one basically features space dwarves and gene stealer cultists, though they've got fancier names than that, of course. And there are some interesting things about this, but I'm a little bit disappointed that some of the models have been reused from earlier sets. But anyway, we'll have a look at that and see what you get inside Termination, and I'll tell you about the story behind it as well. Let's get started. So let me open this up, and before I do so, I want to tell you that I've already opened it up and had a look inside, so this isn't how it looks when you first open it. But I haven't, and this is where I'm a little bit embarrassed, I've not yet painted all the miniatures. I've painted the Votann figures, and I'll show you those. I haven't got around to building the Gene Stealer cultists yet. However, there are a few, as I said, there are a few models that have been reused from before, and I've got painted versions of those, so I can show you those painted. So it's a bit of a mixed bag from me today, but you'll get the idea. I've also built the two terrain pieces. I'll show you those in a second. So here's all our bits. Here's our Leagues of Votann guys. I'll show you those in a bit. And, as ever, we get all our stuff in a sort of flimsy cardboard container like this, no doubt to protect it from the miniature sprues. This is what you get. It's got some nice artwork on the inside. I like this idea, but I wish they made this less flimsy, because then you could actually put your stuff for a campaign, and if you're going along to your friend's place, you could take it with you just like this. But as it is, this is kind of flimsy. So, of course, you get that bunch of miniatures. We'll show you all that in a second. You get some transfer sheets. These are for the Leagues of Votann. This is the standard sheet for the Leagues of Votann, so it has various different schemes on it, various different graphic design schemes for the different, forget what you call them, the different parts of the factions inside the Leagues of Votann, companies, forget. And this one you can use for Cadians, so Cadians being kind of ground forces, but of course these are Cadians, but they're Cadians who have been corrupted by the evil influence of the Gene Stealers, and of course Gene Stealers go back to the Tyranids. We'll talk about that later as well. Then we get some nice sets of cards here, as you can see, large format cards. If I can get this, there we go. So the Votann fellows in here are called the Hernkin Jaeger. That doesn't really roll off the tongue, does it? Hernkin Jaeger. And basically they're Leagues of Votann characters, as in space dwarves, but they're kind of forward rangers. So they're scouts, and they go into new areas and they find resources, and then basically they do everything they can to make it easy for the Leagues of Votann fleet that are coming up behind them to get hold of those resources. And if that means subverting local conditions and blowing things up, that's what they do. So they're kind of like commandos, stroke scouts, stroke infiltrators, that kind of thing. What this basically all boils down to is that they're space dwarves, but they've got nice big long cloaks. Anyway, they're nice figures. I'll show you later. So we've got strategic ploys for them here, and tactical ploys, of course. And then you've got some equipment that they can use on separate cards. So you can do that. And then we've got some abilities on here as well, which is nice to see. That's quite handy. A guide to the tokens that come with the game. Faction tac ops. So all your usual stuff. That's for them. And then you've got the Brood Brothers. And these are basically the local militia who have been corrupted and subverted by gene stealer cults, and so they're starting to mutate subtly. So they've basically got the training of the Imperial Army, but they're on the side of, well, they don't even know that they're on the side of the Tyranid fleet, really. They think that they're basically supporting a new god, or they're part of a cult. And, of course, the dark secret is that eventually the Tyranid army will come ploughing into the planet, and they'll all be eaten horribly or mutated into other creatures. So not a good life choice, basically. So there's their equipment and tac-ups and all that sort of stuff as well. It's their cards. Here we have their unit cards. So Brood Brothers. We've got the Brood Brother Commander. There's quite a lot here. Look, Brood Brother Agitator, Gunner, Icon Ward. And they do look human, but they also look slightly weird as well because they've mutated a little bit. Knife Fighter, a Medic. We've got a real range of stuff. A Sapper, a Sniper, a straight-up Trooper, a Veteran. And you'll see this Veteran has got a Gene Stealer arm there, so he's mutated a bit more. So you can imagine they're all going off to the battles that they're fighting, and they're pretending they're Imperial Army, and someone's just sort of basically, oh yeah, there's John. He sort of keeps his left arm tucked in behind his jacket all the time. We've always wondered why he does that. All right, Veteran, Vox Operator, and then we get into, well, look, Psychic Familiar. That's just a straight-up little Gene Stealer dude. The Magus, you can see they're getting very close to being Gene Stealers. Primus, and the Patriarch. Now, these last few figures, the Psychic Familiar, the Magus, the Primus, and the Patriarch, you'll have seen before. Yeah, these recent ones we've seen before, and they were in a game called Deathwatch Overkill, which has been out of print for a while now, but basically featured Space Marines versus Gene Stealer cults. And so they've reused these figures, which is a bit of a downer. I just think if you're doing a new Kill Team set, you know, come up with new figures. I think that's a bit naughty. They're going back into the back catalogue there and just churning out some old figures. So I've actually already got those figures and I've painted them. I'll show you them later. Here's the guy. So I'll show you those later. But yeah, I wish they'd come up with new ones. And, you know, there's been a little bit of talk about the end of Kill Team and the end of Warcry, and I did a little parody video on that. And I'd just like to point out that that parody video, which was supposed to point out the ridiculousness of clickbait, got about 3 times as many views as my normal videos. So if you're someone out there who goes, I really hate clickbait, why do people do it? And I'm one of those people. I'll tell you why, because it works, you know, which is a real shame. I don't want to do it, and I'm not going to do it. I hate things which are just speculative and just basically manufacturing outrage about something that doesn't exist. Now, I'm not naming any names. Lots and lots of channels do this kind of thing, but they do it because it works, because it gets clicks. Sorry, I'm going off in a bit of a rave here. So it's a bit frustrating when you spend quite a bit of time on a video and you put it out there and it gets a certain amount of views. And then I tossed off that parody one in about 10 minutes and I got 3 times as many views. Well, twice to 3 times as many. So there you go. Anyway, I'm just going to keep soldering along and doing stuff that I enjoy and I think is worth watching. And I'm not going to do silly speculative videos about stuff that I don't know anything about. Which brings me back round to, you know, is this the end of Kill Team? I don't know, but that is getting a little bit lazy, reusing figures. I think that's a bit of a shame. So we've got all of those guys. Then we've got the ones for the Hearthkin. I can never remember that name. What was it? Hearthkin something or other? Jaeger. Hernkin Jaeger. That's a very difficult thing to remember. We have the Jaeger Thane, who's the boss, of course. Bladekin, Bombast, Gunner, Ironbreak, Riflekin. You start slipping into a Scottish accent. Tracker, Warrior. There we go. They're cool. I always love the Space Dwarves. I keep calling them Space Dwarves because that's what they are. They used to be called Space Dwarves, and it's easy to remember. Then we have a nice token sheet. Nice thick tokens, which is good. You know, the thick tokens that we didn't get in Legions Imperialis. Stop saying that. And another one. 2 lovely token sheets. Wow. They're really nice. And then, of course, our little book on how to make up the miniatures. So, as I've said, I put the Hernkin together and I put the terrain together, but I haven't got around yet to doing the Brood Brothers. So let's have a look at some of these figures. Now, first I'll show you the terrain pieces straight up. So they sit up like so, and they're nice chunky pieces. And you get 2 of them. And also you can get another one, get 2 pieces like this, which is stairs, and you can plonk those quite nicely. Where do they go? Like that. No, like that. There we go. So you see the stairs go on the side like that. So you can add those. I recommend not gluing those in, so you have an option. But they're lovely, aren't they? 2 big, lovely, chunky pieces of terrain. Really, really nice. This is the kind of stuff that is so useful in all of your sci-fi games. And why, you know, it's an extra special bonus about these kits. You get 2 nice kill teams, but you get some useful terrain that you can use not only in Kill Team, but lots of other games as well. So I really like those. They're great. Now, I should say, my whole problem that I had with the whole Beta-Decima campaign is that I never got the terrain set. So I haven't actually played any of the scenarios in the Beta-Decima campaign because they're all basically on a board which has got a gantry around the outside and raging seas in the middle. And the whole thing's made up of gantries. So there's no line of sight across the sea because there's fog and waves and all the rest of it. And you have these gantries, and you, as we've gone through the different games, they've added extra pieces to go on that as well. But I never got that set, which is always frustrating because, of course, each of the individual sets has scenarios that are set or designed to use just that terrain. So I just managed recently, after a little bit of begging, to actually get one of those terrain sets. It hasn't arrived yet. Really looking forward to it. So I can go back and start playing some of these campaign games. But if they start a new campaign, I think you're kind of stuck. You've got to get that terrain set right up front. Otherwise, they'll have a whole campaign season with new models and all the rest of it, and you won't be able to play any of the scenarios that are in those sets. So they're very tricky there. I mean, I suppose necessarily you don't have to get the first figure set. You can pick which figure set you want. Fortunately, you don't know which figure sets are coming up. But anyway, it's definitely worth getting that terrain set up front. So they're lovely. Let's have a look at some of these Hernkin. And, you know, they're nice chunky little guys, basically. No nonsense. The big design feature of these is that they have these big, thick cloaks under which they hide all their gear. And, you know, they've got lots of pockets and everything, and it gives them a sort of scout ranger kind of feel. So, you know, nothing unbelievably different, but they're going to look great painted up. And as I said, I always like Space Dwarves as a force. I've got a Leagues of Votann army, which I played with a couple of times and I really enjoy using. I don't know, for some reason they just really appeal to me. I just like chunky sci-fi dudes. There's a guy who's obviously good with his knives. The only problem, of course, is finding the time to paint all these things. There's just so much to paint and so many good games to play. And I find myself with less and less time to actually sit down and paint, which is why contrast paints are so useful, because you can paint them a lot faster. Now, I will show you just some images of the Brood Brothers. And they're just a straight up bunch of sort of army dudes with slightly Gene Steelerish features in that they're bald. I think personally this is a bit of a prejudice against bald people. We're not all cultists trying to, be the vanguard of alien Tyranid fleets. No, some of us are just bald. I've been bald since I was in my 20s. Doesn't mean I'm a cultist. Anyway, these guys definitely are cultists. And, again, nothing too amazingly exciting, but good sort of army dude guys. And then you have these, and these are the ones that I've painted up. This one is our Primus. So he's sort of the leader. And I do like these figures. This is when they get more gene stealery. I think they get much more interesting. This one is the Magus, so psychic abilities, spiritual leader, all that kind of thing. Very cool figure. I haven't showed you some painted figures for quite a while, actually. I really should show you some more. This one is our little psychic familiar. Just a little guy. He's the only sort of straight up, well, he's a tiny gene stealer. He's not really a straight up gene stealer. And then finally, the Patriarch. And this is a lovely figure, but as I said, quite old. It's been around for a long time. I don't know why they dusted off the mold for this. I suppose someone said, well, we could do a new Patriarch, or we could just use that one we used in the Deathwatch Overkill set. And it is a lovely figure. So if you don't have it, obviously, definitely worth having. But now I've got two of them, you know. Yeah, there you go. Now the last thing I haven't shown you, of course, is the book. So here we go. Follows the usual format. And as I said, what are they going to do after this? It's no more Bheta-Decima. Maybe it'll be something to do with the Tyranids. Maybe they'll just go somewhere completely different. But there you are. It shows you the Brood Brothers guys. Usual background information and naming tables and things like that. Here's the Hernkin. And then we get into the rules section, of course. And all our unit cards and everything repeated again in the book. And then in the back, a bit of information. This is the Bheta-Decima terrain, which I'm really hoping will arrive soon and I can start playing some of these campaigns. That was the other main piece from the Bheta-Decima stuff. And here's our new Plasma Genitorium. No, not Genitorium. It sounds a bit rude, doesn't it? Generatorium. So generator with the torium at the end of it. And steps if you want to add them. Hazardous areas. And then we've got some missions you can play. So yeah, it'll be great to finally have all this terrain and be able to play some of these missions, because the last time I played Kill Team, it was still on the Gallo Dark. And yeah, I really want to try these ones out. So that's it, folks. Termination. The aptly named Termination, because that's the end of that campaign. What's going to happen next? Who knows? If something happens, I'm sure they'll be sending it to me and I can show it off to you. Hopefully it'll be something a little bit more interesting than the Bheta-Decima stuff. As I said, I haven't played the game, so I don't know, but the gantries for me were just a little bit dry, and I'm hoping they'll do something a little bit more exotic and interesting next time. But who knows? They've probably already created it and it's in the pipeline and ready to be released in a few months. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. This has been Kill Team. This is the Esoteric Order of Gamers. And, you know, I cover lots of Games Workshop stuff, but I also cover a huge range of other games and board games and things. I mean, I just did a review of a completely Euro-type, Victory Point-type game. So it's probably my curse and probably means I don't get as many viewers as I like, that I flip between things all the time because I like all types of tabletop gaming. It's my passion, and I love sharing that passion with you. I'll see you next time. Don't forget to subscribe, please. Hit all notifications. And if you do that, please make sure that your phone is set up to allow notifications from your YouTube app. Otherwise, you won't see those notifications. I'll see you next time. Good gaming, everyone. Bye for now.